the entertainment highlight of the week.
Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show.
Hello.
Hello.
The problem is that Benji's got the hiccup.
I think they're gone now. I had my
Just before we started recording, he just did a.
It happened. I think I'm okay. I think.
Good day.
Good evening.
Good afternoon. You skipped good afternoon.
Good to be here.
Good tidings to all men and women.
And dogs and cats. Good gracious.
Good gravy.
Good. Goodness.
Loch Ness.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Well done.
Yeah, it's a pincer manoeuvre.
It's a worthy fight. That was worthy fight.
You always jump to good evening before good afternoon. That's a cunning strategy.
It works sometimes. You know, sometimes you got to just pull out the dirty tricks.
This is the Benji and Nick Show, as you will have heard right at the beginning, with us going, the Benji and Nick Show. And what do we do, Benji?
We talk about cult television, so we talk about TV from the past, things you might remember, things you might want to forget, some things that you purely forgot about and suddenly think, oh yeah, maybe we could watch that again, yeah. So we just wax lyrical about all different kinds of things from the past, really.
That's right. What you heard at the beginning was the Loch Ness game, which isn't a game, and it's not really about Loch Ness. Today we're continuing our Pyramids of Mars commentary. That's what we're doing. We'll also be trying to contact Jamie Anderson for no good reason. He's the son of the late Jerry Anderson. And we'll be reading out some of your emails. Also, Ben Briggs will be featuring. He's been featuring at the end of the previous couple of podcasts. I don't know whether you've listened long enough to hear him. I can't honestly remember what he's talking about this week. Ben Briggs is my son, by the way. He's 10 years old.
Is it action figures again?
Kids, I don't know. He's on to DVDs now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know whether he did Remembrance of the Daleks last week. I can't honestly remember. But yeah, if you don't like kids, for goodness sake, press stop at about 35 minutes in. Yeah. So should we just launch straight in and do the emails?
I think that's a very good idea.
Do you want to do that first one?
Certainly. Well, this first one here is the subject of this one is In for a Penny. It's from Darren Purdy, and it was sent at 23:11
in the future.
In the future, yeah, on the 24th of the 10th, 2019. So, dear not Nick and not Benji, that's not us. This is my first time emailing you on the podcast, although I have been known to dabble in the emailing malarkey over your other podcast. The other one. But I have to say that how much I enjoy your diverse and eclectic wanderings through such wonderful and occasionally woeful entertainment fare.
Can I tell you about some woeful entertainment fare? Go for it. Last night, I went to see a show called Britain's Got Magic.
Was it a woeful entertainment fair?
It was. I mean, it's a strange mixture in that it was someone who won Britain's Got Talent 4 years ago, presenting a magic show and a sort of comedy thing. And it was him, a sort of magician, and a ventriloquist, a person called Nemesis, who sort of had which was a bit like Tron. He had a weird costume on and threw lasers around the place. And then another classic magician, in the old tux and the waistcoat and, pulling all the funny faces, lots of loud music and pulling cards out of his mouth and making paper fly around. Very professional. But the thing is, it was just... I was really disappointed by the amount of misogynism in the comedy. It was all about, like, the ventriloquist, the puppet was lusting after women and touching himself, and there were kids in the audience. He kept saying, "Don't do that. There's kids and all." And I think, yes, there are kids. So why are you doing this massively inappropriate working man's club from the 1970s material? It's just and they were cross because it was just over half full, and it's only like a 400 seater, and so. You are never going to get a huge woof of laughter from an audience that size. But even if you... What the thing to do to guarantee you won't get a big woof of laughter is complain that the audience aren't responding.
Yeah, that's never good, is it, though?
There was this sort of undercurrent of tight-lipped kind of, yeah, I'm just doing this for my own entertainment. And you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I say, yeah, you're getting that. No, didn't get that one. Okay, right. And you just think, yeah, now you're having a go at us, and now we just feel insulted. So there's even less chance of us laughing. So I thought there was that, either they're just stupid or a bit amateur in that sense. If you know anything about an audience, you do not get them on side. It's a brave person who tries to get them on side by insulting them, and that's what they were doing a lot of the time, having a dig. It's not our fault that not many people wanted to come and see your show, and I'm regretting coming to see it now, and now you're being rude to me, so it's going to go even worse, you know. And there was one point where the ventriloquist got cross about the fact that they put him in a certain position on stage, and he felt he wasn't close enough to us, so he sort of went, yeah, I'm just moving now, and he dragged himself forward. But what he didn't realise was, because the audience is in a crescent shape, the people at the edges couldn't quite see what he was doing with the puppets anymore. I thought, yeah, they put you there for a reason. The people who run this theatre know where the best point is to be seen. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm left with a very strange taste in my mouth after that show. I would recommend anyone not to go and see it.
The problem with all these sort of reality TV show things, and it's my sort of bugbear, is a lot of the time it's people that very desperately want it. They really want to be famous, and they really want to be out there doing that. And and there are a lot of very successful acts in there. But at the same time, I think there does come a level of people who are. For one thing or another, some people might have a bad attitude, but a good act. But ultimately, yes. The reason they haven't reached greater success is purely because they have a bad attitude. So, I think
they're used to bigger audiences, and they were used to a better response. And rather than just working through it like a professional, they got petulant. And I think that is the shame of it. I could see their disappointment at the lack of reaction. I thought, look at the size of the audience. It's never going to happen, unless you really woo us. Don't criticise us. That's not going to make us laugh, unless you're a really, really smart, experienced comedian who can somehow turn that negativity into positivity. But that's a very rare talent, I would say.
You think, given the fact that, that the less people there are in a room like that, is that you have to make it intimate. You have to make them feel like they're part of it. The more people there are, the more you can just do your act. But the idea with them is to bring that 200 odd people together and make them feel special, rather than just treat them like they're fools who it's their fault.
We're getting it wrong. That was the thing. He was trying to imply, two of them were trying to imply, the ventriloquist and the main guy were sort of trying to imply that we had misunderstood what we were meant to be doing. I thought, no, you've misunderstood what you're meant to be doing. You're meant to be entertaining us and not subtly, in inverted commas, criticising us for not giving the requisite reaction that you've received in some big northern venue with 3,000 people in the audience, where perhaps, I don't know why I said northern, that's unfair, but where perhaps that kind of misogynism goes down well. But, on the university campus of Exeter University in the Northcote Theatre, you're not going to find a terribly good audience for that kind of 1970s variety nonsense that you're peddling here. I would say that talented magicians, obviously very good at what he does, the main guy, and the ventriloquist was a very good ventriloquist, and he had great rapport with his puppets. I just didn't like what they were discussing. When he started the ventriloquism out, it was just silly nonsense, which was lovely and just right for the kids. But then it got about the sexual proclivities of the puppet, and I just thought, wow, what are you doing?
It's like,
there are 7-year-olds in the audience. What are you? I'm not a prude. Of course, you know me, Benji. I say all sorts of rude things, but not in front of young children, for goodness sake. What is the matter with you?
There comes a level of judgment, doesn't there? You have to judge who's around you and what to say and what not to. But
I kept thinking of Cheeky Monkey, the on the Alan Partridge show, the sort of slightly naff. Oh, you cheeky monkey.
Cheeky monkey. Yeah, I mean,
don't hit it.
Don't hit it, please. That I have to apologise. But it's oh dear. But I mean, if you've just caught up, this is the Complaining About Magic podcast and magicians.
Britain's got tragic.
Britain's got monkeys. And I've just realised we're midway through an email.
Yeah. From who's it? From Darren Purdy.
Darren, yeah.
No relation of Purdy in the New Avengers, I imagine.
So as an early adopter of this podcast, I've had many memories awakened by your choice of topics. And oddly enough, it led me to track down something I once thought I may have imagined.
Oh.
I knew that I had an image of a mostly puppet-based standalone TV movie that had, to my infantile mind at the time, aspects of Jerry Anderson, aspects of Star Trek, and was somehow set at Christmas. It was listening to one of your episodes when something was said that suddenly secured from nowhere the name of this thing. I tracked it down, I bought the DVD, I watched it. Wonder what it was. Nostalgia is a funny thing. It certainly had elements of my childhood mind recalled, although frankly not as I recalled them, and staggeringly shocking thing to put before children. It's called Stainless Steel and the Star Spies.
Wow.
I urge you to watch it purely for the quality of your reactions. I do wonder if it was intended as a pilot and then someone actually saw it. Who knows? Anyways, thanks for your unerringly good-natured and fun-filled audio frolics. I shall be listening to this...
Apart from the bitterness about Britain's Got Magic. Yeah.
I shall be listening to this driving home on my birthday from a Star Trek convention in Birmingham.
Wow.
So it will make the most excellent end to my weekend. Until next time, Darren Purdy, sent from a water closet in darkest Essex.
Flushed with success.
Yeah, Stainless Steel and the Star Spies.
Yeah, you got to look that up. Yes, there's. Someone asked me if I wanted to go to that convention. Actually, one of the fathers of the children at the school gate said, "Oh, do you want to go to a Star Trek convention?" I said, I don't go to conventions unless I'm a guest. And he went, oh, well, fair enough. It's because he and his wife couldn't go. But they said that convention normally has William Shatner at it, but not this time.
It's got Patrick Stewart this time.
Oh, well,
that's pretty good, isn't it?
Well, yeah. He did more, didn't he? He did more than William Shatner, you know.
I mean, he did, didn't he? He's doing even more now, isn't he? I'm not one for really... You know, I like conventions for like seeing the interesting stuff. Like I'd go purely to see the sets, but I'm never really interested in the whole. I've never been into meeting. You know, I like to meet people in a more like in a way in which I just meet them rather than being like, oh hi, here's you know, it's a different vibe I suppose for me.
Yes, I've never been to a convention as an attendee. Even like the first one I went to, I was there to switch the lights on and off. I had a little job.
Switch the lights on and off. The only problem is that you didn't know whether it was on or off all the time. So
I know, they
chaos,
kept going on and off during the...
So interestingly enough, Stainless Steel and the Star Spies is actually the cast
Terrible.
on it is actually it's got Ed Bishop as the main character, Stainless Steel.
Well, that's obviously why I thought it was Jerry Anderson. Yeah.
Bob Hoskins, interestingly enough, as a voice in this. And yeah, lots of other people I don't know.
What does it look like?
It looks... I tell you what, it looks a bit like actually. It looks like.
Does it look like Starfleet?
I mean, it looks very stylistically different to Starfleet. It looks a little bit like if Smash Mashed Potato did a series, it would look a bit like this actually.
Right.
Sort of got that level of weird, slightly rubbish.
Oh yeah. Now hold on. I think I've seen this. I recognise it.
Also, it looks to me like the when the writing comes up at the start of the opening sequence, it looks a little bit like the writing from Blake 7. I'm
now watching it.
It is quite nice, I think. Oh gosh, yeah, the puppets are dreadful though. I mean, they really.
I've seen this.
And what are your memories of it?
Yes, I remember this. I totally remember it. Metallian Saucer Force.
I think as well the transfer of this, where the fact
Somewhere
that it looks a little bit
in the wastes,
a little bit washed out, looks a bit like the adverts as well.
Yeah. Yeah. They are very, very worried. Oh, it's a comedy. Right, I get it. Yes, he said, right now, Commander Steele and his crew are very, very worried. And then a character says, Commander Steele? He goes, yes, what is it?
I'm very, very worried.
Utensil. I'm very, very worried.
As if we didn't see that one coming.
Just saying for the listeners.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Well, there you are. Thank you, Darren and Purdy. Steed. Oh, look, I get a really short email to read out. This is just from Steve Craddock. There's no subject. It was sent in 1844. What was going on in 1844?
Find out.
Yeah, it was on the 23rd of October. He just says, topics: Doomwatch, Lost in Space, Ice Station Zebra, The Avengers, Star Trek movies, Tenko.
Done a lot of those already, apart from Doomwatch. Doomwatch seems to be Ice Station Zebra as well.
Zebra, you have to say zebra.
Zebra.
Because it's American.
It's funnier if you say zebra, though.
Have we actually done the Avengers as a proper topic, though?
This is the thing I actually can't remember. I don't think we have, because we've done the recap, and I assume we haven't. It feels like a very natural
spoken
thing.
About it, yeah. And we've not properly done a Star Trek movie, except you've taken us through your Star Trek movie.
My journey, yeah.
Odyssey.
Not finished them, though. I've lost interest with the last two. They just don't look very good. We'll get to them.
You mean Insurrection?
Yeah.
Yeah, Insurrection.
We'll get to
Did you know the original title of Insurrection was Prime Directive, which is just a much better title.
Great title, isn't it?
Yeah, and that would have made you enjoy it more. It's like an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's like a middling episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation with just a bit more budget thrown in. It's a very odd choice for a movie.
So they're just banging them out, aren't they? At that point, I mean,
well, I don't know whether I couldn't speak to that point, but I do think that it's it was a mistake.
Yeah,
I think you always see this in a film series where they get confident about it and they just think, no, we know best. We'll just do this. Why would you call it Insurrection rather than Prime Directive? Anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
I've got some 1844 news here.
Okay.
A gun on the USS Princeton explodes whilst the boat is on the Potomac River cruise, killing 2 United States cabinet members and several others. It's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's see if anything else has happened. The Great Flood of 1844, Missouri River.
This is all American stuff.
Hong Kong police force is established.
Thank goodness.
I had to just throw that one in there.
Anything happened in Britain?
In Britain, let's have a look.
A man fell off a bicycle.
A man got rained on by a giraffe.
Actually, they didn't have bicycles back then, did they?
Penny farthing.
Yeah.
There's not actually a lot of stuff that's really happened over here. University of Notre Dame.
Quiet, yeah.
George Williams sets up in London what is often cited as the first youth organisation in the world, the Young Men's Christian Association, the YMCA. There we go. James Goodyear receives a patent for vulcanisation to process strengthened rubber.
And make your ears pointy.
Make your ears pointy and loss of emotion. Yeah, it seems like a pretty jolly year.
Jolly good. Well, we haven't done Lost in Space properly, have we? We've not done Doomwatch, even though I spoke about it recently. Dun dun dun, ba-da-ba-ba. That's the theme tune.
Very good.
Tenko, we're ashamed of what we did with Tenko.
We'll give it another whirl one day.
I'm so pleased that Louise Jameson doesn't listen to this podcast, because she'd be so upset that we were rude about Tenko. But I would argue that we watched an episode that wasn't really Tenko-like, but in fairness, we spent a lot of that commentary on it, and not a commentary, but talking about how we loved Louise Jameson. So swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Really? Yes. And she wasn't even in that episode, was she? No, she wasn't. Well, we'll watch another one day. We'll revisit it, because there's nothing wrong with doing a revisit. Yeah, it only gets good when she's in it. I bet that's what it is. Yeah, definitely. She brings a charm to it. Have I covered myself there? There we go. Yeah, okay. Lost in Space, the original Lost in Space. I think I suggested that I probably wouldn't be able to tolerate watching it, even though I loved it beyond love as a child. Having dipped back into it, it's just so stupid.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I like it. I mean, I like it, but I like I said, I don't think I've watched it since I was a kid.
Yeah, it's got two great theme tunes, hasn't it? It's got that one and the...
That's the one I remember.
And that's the one they use in the new version of Lost in Space, which is coming back in January on Netflix.
On the flicks.
Ice Station Zebra. Have you never seen that?
Never. I've heard of it, not seen it.
Yeah, that's the theme.
It means
tune
nothing to me,
Zebra.
kid.
Well, it's got Patrick McGowan in it.
Oh, it's going to be good then, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yes.
Yes, it will be good.
He took a few weeks off filming The Prisoner to make it.
And delayed everything. And
Well, they had to make that episode that didn't have him in with Nigel Stock.
Which isn't a bad episode.
Yeah. We've said all this before, I think. Anyway, so I think, yeah, out of that list, I would definitely do Doomwatch and Ice Station Zebra. And maybe we should... Did we actually do the Avengers? Oh,
No, I don't think we did.
Well, since that was a short one, I'll do this long one as well. All right. Are You OK, Nick? Part 2 from Robert Doyle, sent in the future in 2029 on the 28th of September. Oh, the day before my birthday. This is an old one. Hi, Nick and Benji. Hope you've had a good week. Love the recap special part 1. Oh, this is an old one. Thanks for taking the email I sent last week in the way it was intended, which was friendly concern. That's right. He said, I think there was something wrong with me because I swore, didn't I?
Oh, yes.
And thought I'd edited the swearing out, but had in fact edited 2 gaps out either side of the swearing. The swearing was left in. Idiot. Must do better. It was friendly concern. When I heard you and read out the subject header, I thought, oh no, here's where I'm told to do one. It's a strange expression, isn't it? I should have known better. You both have created a podcast which is welcoming and friendly. Is it, though? Glad to hear you like Star Trek continues. When you do get to the final 2 episodes to Boldly Go with Nicola Bryant, I'm sure you'll shed a little tear. Oh, I haven't watched it yet. I must do. I saw her sort of entering and looking very impressive. I thought, she's doing a good job here. Well, great actor. A few suggestions for further podcast discussions. Life on Mars. Not sure it's old enough yet, but it's a series that my wife actually will sit down and watch with me without complaint.
Love it.
So it's
Love it to
difficult
bits.
to find those, isn't it? Yeah. Gene Hunt is a wonderful homage to 70s TV cops. I think it's a great bit of British TV, and we watch it every few years. Yeah, maybe that's worth... I remember I liked it at the time, but got very frustrated with it towards the end.
I loved Life on Mars. I actually found that the hard one to get into for me was Ashes to Ashes. I found the first series of Ashes to Ashes a real struggle to get into. The second one, I wasn't particularly interested in it.
I didn't
watch
it.
But then the third one was really, really good.
Oh,
But
interesting.
I
made 3 series of it. I had no idea.
I honestly, I would say out of all the shows that I think deserves an audio adaptation, I think it's Life on Mars, because just Gene Hunt is such a good character. You can get, there's just vast mileage out of all of that cast. They're brilliant.
Well, we worked with the lady who was the female police officer in it. I can't remember her name now.
She played. Was the character name in it Abby? I can't remember. Life on Mars.
But she was very, very nice and a brilliant actor. She was in our one, The Last Adventure, the Colin Baker one. There it is. And so she'll be in the cast of that. Can't find.
The other way, I typed in Life on Mars cast and it came up with Life on Mars South Korean cast. So that's not the one I want.
I can't remember the name of her character. Coordinator Storin? No, that wasn't it. Janesta, Liz White.
Liz White, yeah, that's it. That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, and she was lovely. She called me Chucky all the time.
Oh. Well, so, you've got
that was another.
Philip Glenister is absolutely superb in that. You've also got the other 2 chaps in there as well, haven't you? I need the cast list up now because I can just see their faces.
Their happy smiling faces.
Happy smile. Yeah, Liz White as Annie Cartwright. Dean Andrews as Ray Carling. Marshall Lancaster as Chris Skelton. Nelson, the barman. Tony Marshall. It's great, absolutely great cast. Of course, John Sim as Sam Tyler.
Yeah, well, of course.
Of course. I mean,
is that what? Yeah. Is that what made him famous? Really famous, or was he already famous?
Oh, I think he was already famous. I think
he'd done the Lakes or something, hadn't he?
I think this certainly contributed towards making him what I would say, like, he's a vastly successful actor, isn't he? But I think it certainly contributed to that. But before then, he was in 24 Hour Party People. Great film.
Yes.
Spaced. Yeah. He was in an episode of Spaced. The Lakes, which I've not seen.
I said The Lakes he'd done. Yeah, that's what he was famous for. Yeah. Can you hear that rain in the background here?
No, I can't hear it.
Absolutely in the middle of a storm here.
He was in Sex Traffic.
Steady.
Steady on. It's a bit racy. Life on Mars, The Devil's Whore. Yeah, Life on Mars definitely.
Stop reading out rude things. You've just said whore and sex.
Skellig.
You're as bad as that ventriloquist.
Perhaps it's my new a new avenue for me.
Oh, you cheeky monkey. By the way, Robert continues, I know these are all American, but I grew up on shows like The Incredible Hulk, $6 Million Man, Battlestar Galactica, and Babylon 5, and the short-lived Firefly. Also, Secret Pleasure. Anyway, looking forward to recap part 2. Well, we've done 3 by now, Rob. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rob. The Incredible Hulk. I never found the Hulk himself convincing. That annoyed me as a kid. The $6 Million Man. Yeah, I did watch that because somehow that was the law, but I found it a very annoying. Have you ever seen it? The $6 Million Man?
They're all things that I sort of grew up having on the telly because I had Sky from a very young age, and so showing my age here. Sky. Yeah, so a lot of these things
let me tell you something weird about the $6 Million Man.
He was only worth
the theme of the
$4 million.
You know, we all know the $6 Million Man theme, don't we?
Yeah. Compared to the title sequence, actually.
Yeah, that. Well, there was a really odd episode that had different music where there was a woman singing $6 Million Man, he can do what he can. Yeah. So have I gone mad and invented that memory, or is that true? That's my question to the listeners out there.
Because the title sequence, I remember that's one of the things I remember, is it being really like lots of computers and whizzing around and people operating on his leg or something.
Yes, it started at and it was all the space mission he was on, and
that's right.
And they showed real footage of a space capsule crashing and stuff, so
pretty grim, isn't it?
Very grim. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. That's Oscar, his boss. Oscar. Yes.
No, it's one of those. It's interesting. But there's some good stuff there. I mean, Babylon 5 looks so dated now. It's quite sad.
Yes, I desperately wanted to like Babylon 5 and did try to watch it quite a lot, and occasionally got into it for a few sequences of episodes, but I just found all the characters really annoying.
I don't have a great knowledge of it. I've seen it in retrospect. I looked at it recently and thought, oh, maybe I'll give that a go. There's in Battlestar Galactica, but it's just a case of like the problem.
The original.
I mean, the original Battlestar is awesome, but the problem with Battlestar, I can't stand those awful Egyptian-like helmets. They just ruin it for me in so many ways. Because you can't look at them and think, oh look, he looks like a pharaoh.
What? In the original, yeah.
No, but they do like a riff of it as well in the new ones, don't they?
Do they? I didn't notice that. So. I think the new series of Battlestar Galactica is almost perfect, except for the end of the last series, which is just utter bobbins. Really just drove it. It jumped. They lined up a whole load of sharks and like Evel Knievel jumping over double-decker buses, jumped over those sharks.
Oh god, it's a bit of a Roger Moore alligator affair.
I should watch it again, as I've mentioned before. I should watch it again because Steph was going through really terrible labour at the time. I don't mean the political party. I mean giving birth to a child. It went on for days and days. It was horrific. And so I watched Battlestar Galactica to try and distract myself and ended up not enjoying the ending. But there you go. But the original Battlestar Galactica, they put a couple of episodes together and released it as a movie, and I went to see it as a movie. And it had a thing in it. Did they call it rumble sound or something? Well, basically, when all the explosions went off, all your seats rumbled in the
that's quite
cinema.
cool.
I just found it really annoying. It made me want to go to the toilet.
Thought you relieved yourself by mistake halfway through.
I remember the sort of plates on the floor rattling. It was just upsetting, really.
It's a bad idea.
I mean, so maybe... And Firefly, I've seen the movie. What was it called? Oh, it's one word title.
It means nothing. I know nothing about Firefly.
Oh, God, it keeps coming back to me, the name, and whizzing away just before I can remember it.
Like a firefly.
Everyone says it's Blake 7, basically.
Well, I suppose it's that
Have
whole...
you not looked up Firefly movie? I thought you were looking it up.
Oh, no.
I'm doing it now. What's that? Oh,
Was it Joss Whedon's Firefly?
Firefly movie.
Serenity.
We both got it at the same time. Oh, the number of times I nearly said that word. Anyway, just remembering things that the audience is screaming at their podcast app that they already know.
They're just there going, Serenity. Come on! Dear.
Right, now, do you see this here, Benji?
Oh, very similar to mine, which is...
my DVD drive, which I'm now going to... Oh, I dropped the box.
They're now going to drop and smash all over the floor. Pause.
Like I told you about my...
goldfish.
Right, so do you want to talk about anything while I'm connecting this up?
I suppose I can talk about it. I'll tell you what, random topic generator. There we go. I love these random generators. Here we go. Random topic. Here we go. It comes up here with this. This is a real variety for you here, folks. So there's camels, seesaws, or just execution. So let's
go for camels.
Camels, yeah. I've never ridden a camel. Personally, well, I mean, I wouldn't want to really, unless I was stranded in a desert. I like the idea of going through a desert, but I don't like the idea of riding a camel along a beach. No. that seems a bit silly to me, and I feel like you can only really justify riding a camel if you've got some really fun kind of reason for doing so, like being Lawrence.
They spit at you, don't they, camels?
They do. They spit at you, and they've got funny legs, and they can hold a lot of water. But I mean, ultimately, if I want to do it, I want to be Lawrence of Arabia, or I don't know.
Oh, Doctor Who's just started.
See, that's exactly what happened to me. You've just been bakered. I have to admit, this is slightly concerning. I've just clicked refresh on the topic generator. It's come up with Europe, murderers, and breastfeeding.
Well, hold on. Back to camels. I remember my drama teacher when I was doing my A-levels. She said, "Oh, yes, we went to so and so, and we were offered a camel ride." And she said, "They've all got syphilis, don't you?" And is that true?
I don't know. Let's have a Google.
Do all camels? I mean, I'm sorry. I was complaining about saying sex and whore earlier, and now I'm saying syphilis.
Camels have been carrying around a deadly, contagious virus twice long anybody is only realising. Over 20 years, cases of the MERS virus might have gone undetected in infected humans. Camels can transmit said virus to human beings. Whether or not, I think the syphilis virus is called the MERS virus. I don't know.
Is it?
I have no idea. I mean, it just says
nothing to do with the Ollie MERS, is it?
I don't know.
An unfortunate name.
Adolf Hitler had syphilis.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it caused his hand to to start twitching loads. So he had to. So if you look at the late war footage of him in public, he always has a hand behind his back or in his pocket, which you can see twitching away. Very interesting.
Yeah. Did they couldn't treat it in those days then, could they?
I don't. I guess not.
Drugs
but equally, I
something.
think did he admit that he had it? I don't know.
Oh right, so we don't know for sure.
He definitely had it, but he was a very sick man by the end, wasn't he? Imagine he had more on his plates than that.
It affects your brain, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Syphilis,
well, he was Hitler.
Case solved.
Case solved. Yeah. Right. So now we're going to be doing part two of Pyramids of Mars.
Okay. Have you got your DVDs?
I'm all ready to roll, mate. You say when, and I'll click the button.
So 3, 2, 1, and on the 1 we click.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
There we go. I'm seeing it.
No, mine's just started now.
Hold on.
Do you want to just stop yours for a moment?
Done it. I'm on the wormhole now. Yep.
Yeah.
Tom Baker's face is coming up.
Just now. Yeah, you're slightly ahead of me.
I'll pause it again.
Never mind.
There we go. Doctor Who thing's just about to fade away. It's faded. Pyramids of Mars. No. There we go.
Pyramids of Mars. No, again, you're slightly ahead of me. By Stephen Harris, part 2. Is this the face, the safer Futes?
You can see the smoke coming out of his back.
So Tommy Cooper here is about to be killed
by a man wearing a bin liner.
Actually, I think that's probably quite expensive.
Faux leather. I love this effect. It's just gorgeous.
A lovely shot there, the Doctor and co peering.
Very effective form of death, really, isn't it?
That was a bit comedic, wasn't it?
Oh, there he is, wearing a very nice, sharp suit.
I knew he'd say Marcus.
Marcus. The makeup on it is great, isn't it? Marcus Scarman is wonderful, pale, with dark eyes.
Yeah.
What's he doing with his hands, though?
I don't know. That's probably how he had his hands under the costume, so he thought, I'd better keep it
maybe, or perhaps he's got terrible cramp in his elbows.
I love these little bits of technology that just look like ancient Egyptian jars.
It's a very well thought out idea. The concept is great.
Now, I believe this is the Poacher episode, isn't it?
I think you might be right, but don't quote me on that.
Because I think the Poacher features only in this episode.
The thing about this, and a lot of Tom Baker's stories around this point, is they all they start to get a bit classy. The sets and things, it all has this wonderful level of sort of elegance and slight Victoriana, which I love and really associate with Tom's run as the Doctor.
Yes, I think that's a generally held view, and I think it's perfectly valid. Because on a show like this, they wouldn't have to design everything from scratch.
Absolutely.
So there's no tin foil. Everything's from. It's a lovely touch, that, isn't it? Them being in the.
It's impressive that they both fit in there, quite frankly.
Yeah.
You can see Tom's been wearing his hat again. They've had to fluff up his hair.
Yes.
Ooh. I love Sarah Jane's gown here.
Yes.
It's very sort of horror, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, yes. And he was saying that Victoria wore it, and he calls her Vicky, which isn't right.
So that's another. I mean, if talking from a purely Doctor Who perspective, perhaps he just got muddled between his two companions.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I like his velvet coat.
Who? Tom's?
The Doctor's, yeah.
That's my favourite costume of Tom's, actually. I love this sort of the earlier stuff rather than later on. And even when he has the iconic sort of City of Death look, I prefer this because it's a bit scruffier and a bit more sort of a bit ramshackled.
Oh, quick! You've activated some CSO, Doctor.
Iconic shot here. Yes.
Well, that expression on his face has been copied by artists a lot. Do you hear the hiss of the smoke machine going there? Okay, the poacher. Enter the poacher.
Enter the poacher. Very dark here. Is it intended to be this dark, or is it
or
just
was it
a
shot
poor
they just
camera stock?
Yeah, they probably did it at the end of the day when they were losing light.
And again, looks lovely. Suit is fit for purpose.
Goodness me, the rain here is just bashing on the door. Sorry for the background crackling noise.
Now, is it true that you can't have a single or a double-barreled shotgun without wearing one of those hats?
Yes, that's true. I was just reminded with the rain here pitter-pattering that last night in the Britain's Got Magic show, when the ventriloquist got a little bit of... that's a lovely thing, isn't it? You wonder what that noise is, and it's just... Oh, it's a blooming great mummy with its foot caught in a man trap. When he heard a smattering of applause, the ventriloquist looked at the audience with venom in his expression and said, "Oh, sorry, I thought it had just started raining."
Oh, God, what an ungrateful, nasty piece of work. Should be him in that bear trap.
It should. That trap's there for the poacher, isn't it? So the mummy has done him a favour.
Fair play to him. Fair play. I mean, kudos to whoever's dressed as the mummy for managing to do all of that and balance without falling over, quite frankly.
I always remember that bit of
doing
music.
His thing.
I love a bit of Dudley Simpson.
Michael Shear there poking Tom Baker in the eye. Oh!
Get off me,
you swine!
It's a priest hole. How about that?
He just
I
knows,
haven't watched
doesn't
this
he?
for quite some time, but it's... I heard the audio so many times.
God, what on earth did you
I
think
love
when
that.
he said
I bet
that?
that's not in the script. I bet they added that in the rehearsal. It's not very large. Well, he is, though. Boing! The old force field
a
effect.
little bit of a slip there. Lost his hat. Here's some nice subtle music work. You've got these sort of clicking going on.
Yes, little shaky things. What are they called?
I don't know
they're
what
not
they're
maracas,
called.
are they?
Maybe.
It's a lovely performance by this chap, isn't it?
Well, he's really selling it, isn't he?
Yeah. I wonder how they made that sound effect. Oh, like that.
Just me.
Still, the weather's still not very good here. I think they did all his stuff on his own right at the end of the day.
I expect so. He probably turned up for a couple of hours and...
That's clever, isn't it?
I love that. That's. I suppose they must have... Do you reckon they...
Oh, it's lighter. It's lighter for this shot.
Maybe that it was a cloudy day and it was... the sun kept coming in and out.
Let's discuss the light in shots a lot more. A bogus fabrication and...
Is that you, Lawrence? Oh, no.
Oh, this is horrible, isn't it? When you're younger, you don't quite get how horrible this is.
It's a dark story.
It is. Why you here?
Got such a good face, hasn't he?
Yeah. That's right. Everyone in this story
Don't
has
touch
to be
his shoulder, you
bald.
fool. Why have you done that? No. Oh, now you've done it.
But isn't it all the men in this, apart from Tom, they all look the same. All the posh men.
Sort of doddery, slightly.
They would all be
balding.
in. If you had a lineup, if someone like that had committed a crime, you'd put those three guys in the lineup, wouldn't you? Because they look pretty much the same.
I reckon as well.
Except-
if you were on set,
The one
for
with the
this,
death mask, obviously.
yeah, they all go home to the wrong wives. At the end of the day. I reckon if you were on set, it would just stink of cigarette smoke or pipe smoke. I can imagine pipe tobacco being a real central feature on this particular production.
Oh, a little bit of
Little tinkle
Egyptian interfere.
Oh, so good.
I love. You see, these performances are very broad and energized, but you believe them.
Well, I think it's Oh no! It's a very Hammer horror thing. And you can see exactly from watching this where Hinchcliffe later on thinks, "Yep, this is the way to go."
It's really horrible, this, isn't it? And it's totally. Did he say murdering swine?
Oh, God, it's a real blood. A blood-curdling scream, isn't it?
It totally, that sort of actual naff death thing was sold by the actor completely. I love that bit of synth there.
Oh, that's great. Good stuff. I've not watched this in years. You're right. This is brilliant.
There's little pyramids on the backs of the mummies.
Just to remind you.
He's decided now. Now he's seen a murder committed, he's going to take the law into his own hands and do some shooting himself.
Oh, very wise.
I'd like to say to our listeners, I do not condone this kind of vigilante behaviour, which is why he has to come a cropper later.
It has to be made an example of. Tom's nodded off. He's delirious.
Yes. Where are they now? Oh, they're in the priest hole, aren't they?
Could have just waited for him to ask the question.
Yes. It's a mark of a good script, you see. The question the audience is asking gets answered by the script a little bit later.
Very ineffective lamp, isn't it?
Yes. Also burning his scarf.
He's holding it in a very odd way, isn't he?
Cut to outside of the priest hole, and they all come out on fire.
Just suddenly see smoke coming out, or a lot of.
What's the name of that annoying actor holding the lamp?
Oh, he's brilliant. It's Michael Sheard.
Michael Sheard, that's right.
Nothing annoying about him. He's fab.
Yeah, you never met him though.
No, I didn't. To be fair, I just feared him years later as Mr. Bronson.
He is brilliant. He always delivers. But yes, he was anecdote central.
He's one of those guys, though. He's you can get him in to do a story, and you, like you say, he always delivers. You know that he'll do it.
I told you about the chip stealer thing.
Yes, you did tell about chip stealer. I think that was in the last podcast, wasn't it?
Yeah, I will always tell
the
chip stealer story. But I'm not. When I say I will always, see, that's horrible, isn't it? You wouldn't be able to do that in a modern Doctor Who.
It's the way. It's the way they sort of that complete disregard for his body, just dragging him out there, isn't it?
Look, it's like he can smell his brother, isn't it?
Maybe he can. Maybe he really pongs.
Oh, Jamie Anderson's just texted me to ask me about a script he's directing for Big Finish. He wants to ask me a question.
Needs to clean those windows, doesn't he?
It's interesting, this random poacher character has such importance in the story. Why? So the old backwards shot.
Oh, this is so good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just insane. I love it.
I love simple tricks like this, when he just, he walked backwards and then they rolled the videotape. You can tell the slight drop in quality because they had to use a video disc probably to do it.
It's the way he just looks him in the face as well. Just looks at him.
Ooh.
Oh, I love it. This would have been superb if the whole of this was shot on film.
Yes.
It would have just been insane.
Weather looks a bit better.
Yeah.
It's a completely different view out of the window to the one on the film.
The music's gone full Genesis of the Daleks now, hasn't it?
He must have been composing music at such a rate.
He must have just been a complete workhorse,
Yeah.
But equally, I think with Dudders, I think he was just an absolute professional, and I think he just knew what was needed, when it was needed, and how to do it.
Yeah.
I wonder how much he was earning. I wonder if he got paid a good amount.
Well, musician union rates, probably quite good.
Yeah.
Well, they're made with those interesting props.
Yeah, they've really, you can tell whoever's involved in this particular production, they really enjoyed dressing those sets and they've really gone to town on it all.
I'm guessing those stone arches have appeared in many Doctor Who stories.
Definitely. And probably many other things as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. Good old stock.
Yeah, as is probably half of these props as well. All the little details, though, on the like the crates behind with the writing on. And
yeah, good bit of design. Who was the designer? Someone famous. Part of an anti-gravity drive. They tracked in there, you know. They didn't zoom in. That was quite unique for Doctor Who in those days.
It's an ambitious story, man.
He's that ring the Doctor's got, that's going to prove vital in the resolution of the cliffhanger of this episode. Return to control.
You don't know it at this point.
Yeah.
Designer for this one's Christine Rusco.
Oh. What else does she do on Doctor Who? He's going to start firing. No, quick, take him
Pyramids
into the
of
TARDIS.
Mars, Hand of Fear, and State of Decay. Completely makes sense now, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Completely makes sense. Because I was going to say actually, the Victoriana elements are, especially in Hand of Fear with all the lovely secondary console room stuff and State of Decay. Those arches were the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah. I love this version of the control room of the TARDIS.
Not used enough. I don't know why they chose to kind of not continue this design, really.
Yeah. This is yes, does this make sense? Do we? This story is responsible for so many sort of strange things in Doctor Who history, isn't it? Oh, I love that sound effect.
Real spooky.
And the noise of the landing.
And again, do you think...
Look at this CSO.
Oh, look at that.
1980, see?
Oh, look
Sarah's
at that.
from 1980.
I love that. That looks great,
making
doesn't
that
it?
model.
They probably use it later on. They probably use it later on for City of Death.
No, they didn't.
The thing is, all those that extra wailing TARDIS noise. Do you think that was a conscious effort by Philip Hinchcliffe to add that level of sort of eerie? Because he loves all that sort of eerie, unnerving elements. It feels like a conscious thing rather than just a SFX choice. Because I suppose it rings, in part one when the face arrives.
Yes. It has a mournful quality, doesn't it? Iconic shots of Tom here. A little bit of story justification here, isn't it?
Necessary, though. Necessary.
Yeah. Back to Hammer Horror. How's the weather doing?
Yeah, a bit cloudy, isn't it?
It looks to me like they're on the verge of rain.
Yeah.
I've got a funny feeling that...
Very 70s weather.
Oh, now Jamie's texted me to say he's sorted out the problem. Oh, off he goes. Yeah, there he is. After him. I love this.
I mean, why doesn't he just get in a car? Get as far away as possible. They're not going to follow him.
Because this is 1911 or something.
They'll get a horse and carriage.
It's Edwardian, actually, not Victorian. But of course,
cars,
a lot of the
just
decor
steal
would have
one.
been.
Wouldn't go very far. It'd probably be better on foot, actually.
All this stuff is great for kids, though. They're sort of hiding in the woods and being chased and everything. It's hide and seek and... Oh,
the force field. Oh, no.
This is quite a fun an interesting plot thing. You show the threat of the enemy by the way they are so relentless in tracking down someone who we're not that emotionally invested in, but we know that the one on the left, the one on the right's really going for it. We know that the Doctor and co are going to come up against this threat.
Yeah, it's a growing threat, isn't it? It's an anticipation.
So we don't really want them to climb out of here, do we?
No, stay in there. It's that classic thing, though, as well, when you're saying about them being relentless. It's the thing, villains run, but real villains walk. It's that.
Yes.
Real villains don't need to run.
Although they were getting a bit fast.
Just getting into it. Maybe they were going downhill. Steady.
Paramount importance.
Oh, what a face. That nose, a hook nose there.
Yeah. He must have played the Duke of Wellington at some point, surely.
Or maybe just the Duke's Wellington. Just the one.
He got the boot. People stop texting me on a Saturday morning.
Well, people stop hooting as well.
Yes, this emotional detachment from the Doctor that emerges in this season has no compassion whatsoever, and then pats him on the shoulder.
But it's that alien quality, isn't it, in Tom really coming out here?
And that is very much Tom. He would have wanted to do that, and and he, in Seeds of Doom, all that business about you must help yourselves.
You got the wonderful thing there as well of Sarah then comforting him, putting her hand on him, and that whilst he just gets on with it.
Yes, he's got his eye on the bigger picture, hasn't he?
Quite.
And the Doctor's not. You see, the Doctor engages him. He doesn't. He's not dismissing him, but he's getting on with it.
Well, he realises, it's nothing compared to the threat that they're facing.
See, that's what he's serious about, the power source on Mars.
Tom has this wonderful ability to have real intensity in his eyes and when he talks, when push comes to shove.
Well, I've observed him at close quarters working for many years now, and he absolutely works out what he thinks the scene is about. And he's saying, and I can imagine him just saying, it's all very well that this guy's friend has died, but the whole world is going to be destroyed.
It's that level of putting what is right first.
So here he doesn't want his brother to die, even though he's already dead.
Blood-curdling
and here's
scream.
the horrible death of the poacher coming up. This is horrid.
This is nasty.
He's just tired.
An iconic death, isn't it?
That is disgusting, isn't it?
I mean, I'd love to add in a crunch noise there.
Yes, I'm sure they thought about it.
We've seen this shot 100 times, haven't we?
He's got his hat back on.
Oh, Here we go. Is it going to disappear? Is it going to disappear?
Climax, but yeah, he's taking it off again.
Yes, he's taking it off again. Just in case.
And let me just tell you, by the time we get to the next episode, Tom's hair has got all frizzy. It's completely changed. It's funny to think that they would have waited a whole week to shoot the conclusion of this.
Yeah. And forgot about the hat, quite frankly.
Yeah.
This is peril. Look at that.
Oh. The girl being... This is the kind of thing that Mary Whitehouse objected to.
Well, I mean, as an episode, that's quite frightening. It is, for kids, is it too far? I mean, I love it. I loved it.
It didn't frighten me. I found this really boring when I was a teenager. I was like 13 or 14, and I found it really boring and annoying. I just wanted Daleks and spaceships. I did not want this creeping around in woods and things. But I love it now. But that was just my,
It's funny, isn't it, how your
reaction.
tastes change.
Yeah.
Well, there we have another fantastic episode of Pyramids of Mars. We do hope you've enjoyed our journey through this. And now, I suppose, the next thing to do is to phone Jamie Anderson.
Yeah, right. Oh,
I love that BBC Colour logo there.
Oh, I phoned in without actually meaning to.
Mind control.
Hello.
Hello,
Jamie Anderson.
Nick Briggs and Benji Clifford, I presume.
That is
Correct.
us. Correct.
Good.
Correct.
I'm good at that.
I'm glad you answered that question about the script yourself.
Yes, so am I.
I'll talk to you about it later, though, if you like.
It concerns a Welsh rarebit, but everything's fine.
Okay, that's cheese on toast, basically, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Have we got a random question for him?
Yeah, what's the last dream that you remember?
Oh, you don't want to ask Jamie this. I've heard some of his dreams that you can repeat.
You know me and my dreams very well indeed. I'll tell you, it's not really. It is repeatable, but it's not very nice. So I had a really important meeting last week, and I was staying in London overnight, and I was quite anxious about the meeting.
Yes.
And a colleague was attending, and he was coming in from somewhere else. So that night, I dreamt that he and I had rented an Airbnb to stay close to the meeting the night before, and everything was fine. And then in the morning, we were just packing up to leave, and then the housekeeper from the Airbnb arrived with like an assistant, and she picked up the bin to start emptying it, and something in the bin, like a vial of poisonous gas, broke and immediately killed both the housekeeper and her assistant.
Oh, Christ.
Wow.
And my colleague said, "Oh no, well, look, we can't say anything because then we won't make the meeting, so let's just go." And I woke up stepping over the corpses of the housekeeper and her assistant.
That's grim, isn't it?
I think I know who the colleague was, and I can completely believe that of him.
Yeah. So there you go. That was the last one I remember.
That's
Isn't
very
that
good.
weird?
That is, yeah, it's good. I mean, it had a large proportion of normality in the build-up.
Yeah, it was totally. I mean, it was totally believable.
Yeah.
Until that bit, and I hasten to add that, you know, the poisonous gas vial was not us. It would have been left there by somebody previously, I assume, to try and possibly murder my colleague and I.
Well, let's let the authorities decide that, Jamie.
So I suggest you go back to sleep and try and figure it out.
This was sadly last week sometime, so yeah, probably.
Perhaps
not
it's a
that.
serialised drama.
I mean, yeah, are you up for doing that as an audio drama series?
Could happen.
Well, the idea that you can keep going back into a dream that several days later, has that been done?
Possibly.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. Some film called Dreamscape of Doom or something.
Dream of the
Inception,
week.
isn't it? But on one level.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, that'll do, I think, Jamie.
Bet you wish you hadn't asked now, eh?
No, I do wish. I'm pleased.
And what are you doing on the show?
We've just done Pyramids of Mars episode 2 commentary.
Nice.
It's a winner.
As I know it, the poacher episode.
Very good.
The poacher only appears in episode 2. Gets killed horribly. Do you remember how he gets killed?
I don't know.
Gets squashed between two mummies. Those big.
It's not nice. It's not a nice way to go.
There's the big. Yeah, what?
I was going to make a rude comment, but I'll stop.
Those big pointy out chest things they have, the mummies. They
Yeah.
sort of wedge his neck between them, and it's like they were only built for that purpose, to squish people. Do you think that's the designer thought? Well, I've got to squash them between these two mummies. I better give them a pointy bit sticking out so they can.
Real decent
Give it a really
damage.
sharp chest ridge.
Or was that an accident on location? They thought, I tell you what, rather than sort of smack him over the head, which it says in the script, should we just squash him between the two of us? I wonder what happened, folks.
Who knows? Who knows?
Well, on that bombshell, Jamie, I'll say goodbye to you for now. Ta-ta.
Thanks for having me. Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Just press this button. He's gone. I think it only makes the leaving noise when they leave. I'm not
I think so, yeah, because you know you're ending the call if you're doing it yourself.
I love the cover of the Pyramids of Mars DVD.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? I was admiring that.
Absolutely
Yeah.
gorgeous. Who did that?
Because it's the reissue, isn't it? Because the original one just had the mummy on it, I think.
Did it? Who did it?
But
it saying?
Clay, isn't it? Clayton
Cover
Hickman. Yeah,
by
Clayton Hickman.
Clayton Hickman, you see. Clayton Hickman. Genius.
He knows his
Genius.
It says on here, violence, infrequent, very mild. Disagree.
Yeah, yes. So,
I have a
what are we
suggestion.
going to do next week?
I have a suggestion.
You want to do Hammer, don't you, or something?
Well, I think it seems we're coming up with hit you over the head with a hammer. Obviously next week is Halloween week, so obviously it is very fitting that we take a slightly darker turn. I would love to do a film which I just think is brilliant, called The Skull. It's an Amicus film from 1965, and it stars Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. I'll read you the little synopsis here. Despite dire warnings from a fellow collector, Christopher Lee, Professor Maitland, Peter Cushing, is determined to add the skull of the Marquis de Sade to his array of occult antiquities. Perhaps if he knew this screenplay is based on Robert Bloch's short story Weird Tales, we'd take the warnings more seriously. There we go. But it's a great film. Wow. It's a really good film. It's really great fun, but the best thing about it is you can tell everybody involved loves just saying the skull of Marquis de Sade. Everybody just loves saying the skull of Marquis de Sade. But it's a really good one. I thoroughly think we should go for it.
Well, you've totally sold it to me. We'll do that for next week.
Excellent. I can't wait to hear what you think.
Yeah, and it's right for Halloween, isn't it? I think last Halloween we did Ghost Watch and swore.
I've lent my copy of Ghost Watch to my friend Tom, who's going to tell his girlfriend, who's never seen it, that it was a real production and that it caused a real stir.
Yeah, and I wonder whether she'll believe that.
I really hope so. It's also got, because the DVD's bundled with the Stone tapes as well, so he's obviously going to be onto a winner.
Well,
Come on, you know.
Yeah. Is he really? Goodness me. Mine, yes. Well, okay, just to say that please do carry on sending your emails in to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com with your suggestions or comments and reviews. I mean, perhaps some of you want to defend Britain's Got Magic and ventriloquists and magicians and people who play with lasers. I don't know. Coming up after we've said goodbye is my son Ben Briggs chatting to me about probably a Doctor Who DVD. Comes highly recommended for people who like listening to 10-year-olds talking about Doctor Who DVDs. Anyway.
The best way to be.
So I'm getting close to the microphone.
Yeah,
so,
I suppose it's... there we go. Nice. Nice and close. Well, it's been a pleasure, and I'll see you next week here on the Benji and Nick Show. So, goodbye.
Goodbye. Okay, Ben, on to the next thing.
The greatest show in the galaxy. That sounded really bad.
This is another one that you like because it's got Sylvester in.
This is my favourite of favourites, or one of my favourites, because I can't decide which favourite is the favourite.
Right.
It's very confusing.
Quickly tell us about the plot.
Sylvester McCoy has landed on this weird kind of place, like deserty, and there's this teleporter which people come from to go to the greatest show in the galaxy, and there's a bunch of people who just sell food on the outside, which was kind of horrible. Well, it looked horrible. It was probably porridgey popcorn. That's what it looked like, mixed with some mayonnaise and mustard. I know it sounds horrible, but that's what it looked like. and they said they wouldn't even touch the greatest show in the galaxy with a barbed pole or something like that.
Barge pole.
What is that?
It's a pole used for pushing things along a barge, along a canal.
Oh, okay. And
that's a really my description there was really inaccurate and rubbish.
And then they get.
So we look up what a barge pole is.
But then they get captured and like have to perform talent, and then they're all running away and stuff. It's just hard to remember, really.
And there were clowns in it.
Yes.
I'm going to look up barge pole.
Okay. A long pole used to propel a barge and fend off obstacles.
That's what a barge pole is. This is how you say it.
Barge pole.
Well, that's more or less how Siri would say it. But it wasn't really Siri.
Oh, yeah. And then another message arrived. Because people are always sending me messages. Bing!
That was a human message.
Favourite scene? Or scenes?
Oh yeah, when Ace gets stuck in the thing with all the robots because there's only that one clown that's not a robot, and then there's the introducer.
Oh yeah.
The
ringmaster.
Has the ringmaster, which has a whip and goes, "The greatest show in the galaxy," and then whips, and then like all the robot clowns like do backflips and stuff, and while he's talking and saying the descriptions and stuff or something like that, he's fiddling with the back of a clown. He opens the panel to make it do a backflip or a front flip.
Oh, I don't remember that bit.
You don't?
No.
Oh, and then back to Ace. She was stuck in a closet with all the old robots, and all the old robots were going in on her, and she really doesn't like clowns. It says on the back.
Does it?
Although Ace hates clowns, the Doctor decides to take his companion to the psychic circus. Oh, psychic circus! I didn't remember the name. The psychic circus on the planet Segonax. Oh, and he also met like a kind of mad professor. Professor. Suddenly I can't talk. Professor. And with a companion who he found on a particular planet who is scared of this particular moon symbol, which turns her into a kind of maniac.
It's a werewolf.
Is it?
Mm.
A werewolf? With green hair? It's true though. Has a bit of green hair in the back.
So how would you recommend this to people? People say, why should I watch The Greatest Show in the Galaxy? What would you say?
It's very entertaining, as in there's lots of plot twists, and there's this like creepy bus, and there's this. It's just a general good plot, and then there's extra bits which make it even better. So it's very detailed, and it has a good story behind it. And like any other kind of Doctor Who old episode, it's just, if you like the Doctor Who old episodes, or most of them, this one is just, it's more new, but it's still old. Like I might watch this one day again, and it would still seem newish, because it's still, I mean, if the graphics were like better, the camera was better, and like more new to like today's standard, it would be just like watching a new film. Like, not exactly, because it's without all the effects, but it's just like watching a film without most of the effects. It's basically like going to a circus, but with a plot twist. I can't think of a good explanation, but it's just good, really. I can't explain why, it just is. Oh, and there was a family of 4. Was it 4 or 3? It was 4. It was a mum, a dad, a boy, and a girl. And they were watching The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, and all the lights off. And at the end, there's this like spiral eye as well that they jump into, and then Sylvester finds that these 3 people that were watching the show from the beginning, that was the family, are like stone gods or something. like that. I don't know.
So it was 3 then, wasn't it?
Oh, and then he does a bunch of magic tricks in front of them with like a pan, and he makes like feathers fly and like fire and stuff to entertain them, and it's generally funny again. As in, because it has a bit of comedy in. Because I just don't know. He has a good personality, so it adds a bit of comedy to it, which makes it funny. And if you're scared of clowns, like I am,
Are you?
I am a bit scared of clowns.
Why?
I just a bit am. They just creep me out a bit.
Why?
I just don't know. They're wearing like this. They have like giant red lips, and why wouldn't you be scared of them? Like this giant red lips. Like multicolored hair, giant red shoes, big hands, walking towards you. Why wouldn't you run? It's a bit scary. I mean, I don't mind them, but they are kind of scary.
Pressing stop now. Ka-chunk.